Shalom, shalom, shalom. I do hope that you are well. This is the day that Yah has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. I want to talk to you today about something that is stemming from a conversation that I had that stemmed from a Zoom meeting panel discussion that I was a part of. Well, I attended the Zoom panel discussion where on Tuesday evening, victims of sexual abuse were able to tell their stories about what happened to them as a child and the effect it had and is still having on their life. And the stories were very, very horrific. Very horrific. But out of those experiences, these persons have now, at the end of trying or working on bringing about change in the Bahamas. And so from their experience, they're now encouraging others to speak out. They are petitioning the Bahamas government to amend certain laws that would be stiffer penalty for persons, perpetrators, pedophiles, those who sexually assault children. The Bahamas is presently, from what I understand from watching another talk show held in the Bahamas, Facebook talk show, and the presenter said that the Bahamas is number one in the region for rape and sexual-based violence, gender-based violence against women and children, females and children. This is concerning for me. It is concerning for me because I live here. And as you would have heard, I've experienced, I'm not a victim, but I was a victim of child molestation. So I know the effect of it. As a child, I know how it affected me. It caused me to be very untrusting of adults. I was not comfortable being alone with males, and it carried on into my adult life to the point where to this year I had to go before the Father to seek healing because I recognized a trend in my relating to males, and I kept asking why it is that I do, but I had this feeling of powerlessness, and it bothered me a lot, where I always felt that I had this need to give in to. It was always this fight not to seek to please. Like I always had this strong desire to please a man. I would be like, why? And Father, why? And when I went on the fast, he said to me, your childhood, the experience that you had, it made you feel power. They took away your power because it was always by force. It was where they would just come and take and begin to fondle and touch. And I would be there like there was nothing I can do. So he said to me, take back your power. No man have a right to touch your body or see your body if he is not your man, your husband. He said, take back your power. And I asked the Father to give me the strength to heal me, to rid me of everything, to heal that child in me that would cause me to always feel so powerless when it comes to men and my body. And that was something I dealt with this year, earlier part of this year. And I did that fast, and I can say to you today that I spoke about it. I didn't go into depth as to what it was about, but that is what it was about. But after the fast, 21 days, I felt my spirit was literally freer, lighter, And so over the years, when I would have heard about any child that was sexually molested, raped, abused in any kind of way, it stirred up an anger in me. But because I also, after that experience, I went into being married, I didn't want to be involved. I wasn't ready to be involved. I wanted to be involved, but I was not ready to be involved because I knew I was dealing with my own wounds. And the anger that I felt then was not good. Some people, it wasn't good. It was a bitterness. It was a lashing out. It was a venom. You understand? And I didn't want to be a person who would just have a bitterness towards men, because that is sometimes what it turns to. But I have an anger towards it, and it's against the issue that is in this country, and what even caused me to feel their anger is because of how it's dealt with. For us to be a country that is number one in the region for rape and gender-based violence against women, females, and children, it says to me that we have not done anything. We have not dealt with it. You understand? Why this thing is so prevalent. And there are so many children and women right now that are experiencing it, and women that you can talk to, and they would say to you, I was raped. My mother's boyfriend was sleeping with me. My uncle, my cousin, whoever. You understand me? So many women have had that experience. And what angers me is that there is not a safe place to talk about it. There is no one that you can go to have it dealt with. There's no law that really effectively deal with it, that these people would be punished. And that's why it's so prevalent, because perpetrators know that nothing is going to be done. You understand? The victims have to go through so much to prove what was done to them, and they're made to feel so ashamed. And that's what happened as a child. Immediately you feel ashamed. You feel as if you have done something wrong, and you're afraid to tell. Because this environment that we live in the Bahamas is, I say, that it's a culture of abuse. It as if it is accepted. And when you listen to some of the testimonies of persons who would have experienced it, you see that it's accepted. Because for a mother, I read it and from Facebook, a woman who's now in her 40s, who said that when she told her mother what was happening, her mother said, oh, you need to get over that. I had to deal with that. That ain't nothing for you to get over. Just get over that. You see, you can go from being angry to bitterness. You understand? Where you have some persons who would have experienced this, and now instead of dealing with it and addressing it, they allow it to steep in them, and they become bitter to the point that you have someone who's going to come and tell you, and your response to them is, oh, get over it. That ain't nothing for you to be bothered. Oh, it happened to me. It happened to them. You understand me? We have fostered an environment where it is almost acceptable. And that is why for years in this country, we have so many people, women, children, and even men now are speaking out about the abuse that was done to them. And nothing was done. And so, yes, I feel anger. Last night I was speaking to someone about it. And he said to me, because I was telling him about what happened on the show. And he was like, are you angry? I said, I am angry. I am angry. I am angry that nothing is done. That it seems as if all these years, nothing is done. And he made it sound as if me being angry was a problem, or you need to heal. I am healed. Me being angry doesn't mean that I'm healed or not healed. And that is where people get this wrong impression of anger. The scripture said, and I have it written down here, to be angry. Ephesians 4:6. Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your wrath. Okay? Psalms 4:4 says, be angry, yet do not sin. In your bed, search your heart and be still. There's nothing wrong with being angry. It's what you do when you're angry. You understand? And a lot of us are afraid to be angry because we think, oh, it's bad. People may, oh, you angry, you angry. What are you doing in your anger? How is your anger driving you? Do you go out and curse at everybody? Or you fighting and you just ranting and raving? Or are you allowing that anger to influence you to get involved to bring about a positive change? Because that's what I'm doing. You understand? For the first time, I feel that it is a need for me to get involved. I feel that I'm ready to be a part of what is needed in this country in terms of fighting the government for change. You know, I know some of us have a mindset that, oh, it's nothing going to be done, and Yeshua's coming and all that stuff. The scripture said for us to tarry until he comes. While we are here, we have a right to live in a society where we can feel some form of safety. Our children can be safe. And I believe we should petition the courts, the government, to bring about laws that these persons, perpetrators of violence and sexual offense against children and women and boys, can be punished. A few years ago, when my son was 10, I was looking for mentoring programs for him to be a part of because, there's no male in my home. And I had a friend whose daughter worked in the ambulance service. She was an ambulance attendant. And she told her mother to tell me, leave my son alone. Don't encourage him or don't seek for him to be involved in any kind of group or organization because boys were being raped. She told her mother to tell me that she had to go to her house the night before. Her mother was telling me where a 14-year-old boy was raped by someone he knew. So she told her mother to tell me, keep him home with me. Keep him with me. Don't let him go among. And I stopped because I'd already looked into a program. And I said, okay, I took advice. Because you see, a lot of things are not spoken about in the media. A lot of things are happening and you don't know. But when you can hear that your country is number one for rape, that tells you that rape is happening on a regular basis in this country. And we have a right to live in safety. Our children have a right to be safe. And if that's not something for you to get angry about, then I'm wondering what it is. That your children are not living in a safe environment because you don't know who is a sexual predator. There's no sex registry in this country. You understand? None. The scripture, like I said to the friend last night, the male friend, the Bible tells you that the heart of a man is deceitfully wicked. Who can know it? You don't know what is in the heart of a man. The persons who were fondling me and molesting me as a child, I wouldn't want it was a big thing in the Catholic Church. I would have never thought that person looking on them would do bad. You understand me? But later on, as I grew older, I heard that he had done it to this one, he did it to the next one. And see, my thinking was then and now, why he was not brought before the court? Why do we allow these things to happen and we don't say anything about it? We leave it there for the next person to become a victim. The country, the people, the neighbors are complicit in this abuse of children and women. Because your cousin, your brother, your uncle, your husband, whoever, molest children. But you ain't saying nothing. You understand me? You keeping it a secret, a hush-hush. And most of the stories that are spoken, you tell are the family covered up. You understand me? Oh, don't say nothing. They protecting. their relative. But he's going out in the community and damaging other people's children, raping women. It's a scar. It's a psychological scar that you're left with, that only the Father can heal. You understand? Anger is a strong feeling of annoyance, displeasure, or hostility. Righteous indignation is what we need, and that is what I have. Righteous indignation, a reactive emotion of anger over perceived mistreatment, insult, or malice of another. It is akin to what is called a sense of injustice. And that is what I have. And I make no apology. And I told the gentleman last night, I do not apologize for what I feel. I prayed about this for years. And it's a righteous indignation that is in me because I want something to be done. And I've been praying and asking the Father for justice because I know what needs to be done in this Bahamas. Only Yah can do it because it goes high. You have people in high up, the police, the church. You know, we had a couple years ago, a church pastor was found guilty of raping a 14-year-old girl who the family took the child to him for counseling, and come to find out that he was sexually, he was raping that child, sleeping with her over and over again. I mean, all kind of stuff came out in the court. It was just a mess. You understand me? A mess what he did to those people's daughter. You understand? And the people in the church defended him, at least some of them. I remember hearing how one lady said when he went to jail that he was like Joseph. And I'm like, how sick can you be? That you can compare your pastor who was charged, found guilty of raping a child, to Joseph. And that man went to jail for 3 years. I understand that he was not with the public, the general prison public. He had a private room. And I'm thinking, why? He was a sexual offender. He was a criminal. Why did he go to jail and get special treatment? Because of his position as pastor. This is why I have a problem with these titles, some of these titles. Because people hide in the front of these titles and they use them to do all kind of wickedness, abomination, wickedness. So he went to jail and was not in the public domain. He had a private thing. I mean, he came out 3 years later. That man had they had big celebration for him. Open a new church. You understand me? I don't know if he was a bishop then, but I know he's a bishop now. You understand? This is what happened in this country. And then you would say to me, are you angry? Yeah. Because this is the reason why I believe nothing is done. Because you have so many people far and wide, persons who are supposed to be protecting you, that are involved in this, that are perpetrators of these criminal acts against children and women. I told the gentleman last night, I have a right as a woman to be free to walk about. You don't have no right to touch me. Because he's saying, oh, this could go wide and wide and affection. I'm like, oh, no one can want to show affection. Keep your affection for your children. You don't know me. I don't need your affection. I don't need your embrace. I don't need when you talking to me, you got to reach out your hand and touch me. You go home to your house and show affection to your wife who probably don't know the last time you touch her, and your daughter who you probably never embrace. But you want to be all out in public, but you show an affection to other people. You pervert it. Go touch your children. Go hug them and show them affection. My daughter and my son don't need you to show them no affection. We got to keep this thing in order. You have no right to touch anybody. If I didn't ask you and welcome you, invite you to touch me, you don't touch me. You could talk to me without touching me. And then when they do, you do say something, or they say, oh, you acting all. This is my body. Why you have to touch me to talk? And people always, and I get this from women, oh, you act like, yeah. You understand me? Because we think it's acceptable. And that's why this abomination has carried on so long. The scripture speaks about it. I think in Numbers or Leviticus talks about these sexual sins that the Most High frown upon. But I live in a society, in a country where it appears to be accepted. A bus driver, man, could put his daughter on the bus, pay the bus driver to drop his child to school, and he gets a call to go to a police station because that bus driver put his hand underneath his daughter's skirt. These are the kind of things that happen. The man was charged because he beat the bus driver. You understand me? The bus driver went to court. The family didn't know. The bus driver was charged $250 or $200 for what he did to those people's daughter. That's what's happening in this country. And I wrote on Facebook, I cry shame on the Bahamas. Because we have been a country that facilitates the rape of children and women. We facilitate it because we do not punish the offenders of these crimes. And I cry shame on the Bahamas. And I am praying to the Most High to judge this country. I am praying to Yah for justice on this country. You understand? Ezekiel 9:4 say, go through the city and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abomination that be done in the midst of thereof. Are you crying and you sighing for what is being done in the country? What about the country where you are? What is your reaction when you hear about children and women being raped? Do you take the attitude, oh, well, child, that ain't me, because it ain't on your door? Are you crying out for justice? Because you see, it's going to take a collective to bring an end to the injustices in the country. And too many people take the position that because it ain't affecting them, it's not a problem. We have no empathy. And I put on my post this morning, my WhatsApp, I pray that if you are not angry, you are not feeling any righteous indignation against what is happening because it's not on your doorstep, I pray to Yah that it hit your door. If it takes that to cause you to have empathy for others, let it hit your door so you can see how it feels to have your innocence ripped from you. You understand me? To have people touching and fondling all over your body and you can't do nothing, or you feel you can't do nothing, and if you object, they say all kind of mean things to you. And you gotta keep your children so close because you don't know who the wicked, abominable demon is that's gonna touch and fondle your child. And I had to keep my children close. And I told the man last night, I kept my children close to me because I didn't trust my response if someone had touched my two children the way they handled me. People's like, oh, you gotta trust people. I didn't have to trust you with my children because I don't know the darkness in your heart. I know what I experience. And so I kept them close. I let nobody keep my children. Didn't leave them nowhere. And if I had to leave them, it was for 1 hour. When I left and I went back, I used to tell my ex-husband, I don't know your sister boyfriend. I don't know your sister husband. Don't want them around my children. You understand? So I make no apologies. They say you're angry. I make no apologies for my anger. My anger is what is now propelling me to go and get involved, to fight this wicked system, to bring about justice for children, that because every child have a right to be safe. Every child have a right to grow up in a safe environment. No children should be experiencing no grown, perverted with your dirty fingers fumbling up over people. You understand? And I am not wishing dead on nobody and saying, oh, they need whatever. I'm praying for justice. You would have done a crime against someone, you should be punished. The scripture tells you that. The Bible even tells you how they should be punished. You understand? And that's what I'm asking for. I don't have no hate. He asked me if I hate men. And see, people who think like that, something is wrong with you. Because I'm saying to you what I would have experienced, what I've heard these young women had to go through. There's a young man that told a story of how he was taken out of his home and put in a home for children. And he was raped over and over and over again. And he is speaking out about how all the other children experienced it. The carekeepers who were supposed to be keeping them would come in their bed in the night and fondle them and perform oral sex on them. And you're going to hear this and not feel anything? How can you listen and know these things are happening? You know how many homes we have around here? But they taking people's children out of the house because of one thing, and you putting them in an environment and you having this happen? This kind of treatment, this behavior they're experiencing, this kind of sexual assault? You must well leave the children in their house. If you're going to take them and put them in a home where you get these pedophiles raping them and nothing, they can't talk. And the young man was crying because he said there was no one to talk to. They tried to talk, they were beaten. This is what's happening. And then you want to talk about if I'm angry? I went to bed on Tuesday night, and just like that scripture said, be angry, yet do not sin. On your bed, search your heart and be still. That was me. I laid in my bed and all I could have said was, Father, Father, Father. Because I need Yah to act. I need Yah to move in this country. But you see, He works through us. And when we get out and we begin to raise our voice and we begin to mourn and cry, like in Ezekiel 9:4, then the Father is going to come down and move. That's what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah. He said the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah was great. And we have got to start crying out against the injustices and the abominable sins that are being perpetrated on children, women. You understand? How do you sit and be silent when these kind of things are happening? I cry shame on you. If you could sit and don't feel nothing and not cry out and not speak out, you could have, they always passing out these petitions to sign. Do you sign them? Or you sitting there with your little saved self, not getting involved? He said to mark them. Set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh. That means mourn. And that cry for all the abomination that be done in the midst thereof. And you know the next verse said, you mark them. And then you go through the town and you cut down all who don't have the mark. So, are you marked? Or when the judgment come, it can come against you. Because you see, silence give consent. When you sitting there and you take the attitude of that mother, oh, you got to get over that. Oh, that happened to me. You become bitter. And you think, oh, what happened to me can happen to you. You understand? What is your response? What is your action? What is your attitude when you hear of these horrific stories that children had to experience? You understand? What is your response? What is your cry? Do you feel anything? Do you have any empathy? Or because your house and everything good in your home, you're fine? You understand? We are supposed to cry out against the injustices. We should have a righteous indignation for the sin and the abomination that is going on amongst us. And I pray today that you take a position to fight and cry out to the Most High for justice. You understand me? Be angry and sin not. You understand? It's not a sin to be angry. Be angry and sin not. But it's time to get angry. It's time to express a righteous indignation against the injustices of what's going on around us. Shalom.